Hey, hi everyone. This is Paul Samson Topacio, currently a first year medical student, UST Med batch 2028 and Leap Med batch 2024. So I graduated from Leap Med just this June and currently now in first year. So we are both currently taking up physiology, same lesson. And this is supposed to be a live lecture for your Lip Fresh sana. Unfortunately, hindi yata siya natuloy. But nevertheless, I'll still do this video recording for you to aid you in your long exam and for your shifting exams as well. So I think this third shift in physiology, you only are going to tackle vascular physiology, which comprises of hemodynamics, CV regulation, and special circulation. Okay, so here is our roadmap or our outline. So we will deal first with core diagrams. So some important figures that we have to master. These are the essentials that you really have to know in order to answer most of the questions. So these are the foundational concepts that we want you to understand regarding these topics. And then we'll have a warm-up session of just QCVR before we go into our high intensity training. So that's yung CBA natin or choose the best answer. And then we'll cool down with some multiple true or false questions. Okay? So I just want to have a brief overview kung ano ba yung tinakel natin dito sa vascular physiology. Recall natin, di ba, in cardiac physiology, you dealt with both the electrical and mechanical properties of the heart. So, di ba, in cardiac physiology, electrical property of ECG, the action potentials, and then you had the mechanical properties, di ba, yung how it pumps, heart as a pump, isovolumetric contraction, isovolumetric relaxation, ejection, diastole. These are phases in the cardiac cycle, di ba? So that's the mechanical part of the heart physiology. So here we're going to be dealing with the vascular system and the blood. Diba? So yung vascular physiology natin talks about how blood flows and how it is regulated. Diba? So how blood flows, ito yung inaral natin sa hemodynamics. So how does blood actually flow through these tubes in these vessels in our body? That's hemodynamics. How it is regulated, yan na yung CV regulation natin. That's the general portion. So yan yung lecture natin sa CV. Like, how is this flow regulated in general? What are some general mechanisms that regulate and govern blood flow throughout all the organs in the body? And there's also the specific type of regulation that we see in different organs. For example, in the coronary circulation, in the cerebral circulation. So this is yung pinag-aralan natin sa special circulation. Once you have a good understanding, once na-master mo yung core essential principles dito sa CV regulation, you will have no problems understanding special circulation because you're just going to apply these general principles to specific situations, to specific circulations. Okay? Sige. So let's begin with our core diagrams in hemodynamics. So we first need to understand ano ba yung properties ng ating vasculature. So important to note lang, so, di ba, on the left side, you have your arteries. On the right side, you have your veins. On the middle, you have your capillaries. So I'm sure you're very familiar with the flow of blood through these vessels. Ang key properties nila, so we can see here sa endothelial cells, all of them have endothelial cells. Kasi, syempre, of course, this is the internal lining of your blood vessels. That's the first line na tatamaan ng blood na in contact with the blood. Diba? That's the endo meaning inner, diba? Endothelial cells. And important to note here is yung capillaries natin, which are supposed to facilitate tissue exchange of gases and nutrients. You want to be able to filter out things in your blood, in your capillaries to the interstitial space and eventually going to your tissues, to your cells. And so you want this barrier to be thin para maka-filter yung gases and yung nutrients, diba? So you only want to have a single layer of your endothelial cells for filtration and diffusion to occur quickly and easily. Kaya tingnan nyo, sa capillaries, the only ones that they have from all of these fibers or muscles is your endothelial cells lang. Okay, that's very important. When it comes to elastic fibers, I just want you to know that the aorta has the greatest number of elastic fibers. Why? So, di ba, of course, the aorta is the largest artery and you want it to be able to pump blood throughout all the organs in your body, even if the heart is not contracting or during diastole, when the heart is relaxing. Kasi kung walang blood flow during the heart, in between the heart contractions, diba, that would compromise blood flow. So you want to have a mechanism to still have blood flow during diastole, even when the heart is not contracting. And so paano ginagawa ng aorta yan? Marami siyang elastic fiber, so distensible yung aorta. And so what that does is, kapag nag-relax na yung heart during diastole, the elasticity of your aorta allows it to squeeze back to its original position, and then that squeezing action further pumps the blood forward, allowing the blood to flow to your organs, even when the heart is not contracting. It's because of this recoil. Diba, rubber band, pag ni-stretch mo, binitawan mo, babalik. Same thing that happens to your aorta. Kaya kailangan niya ng maraming elastic fibers. When it comes to your smooth muscle, very important, marami sa arterioles and yung precapillary sphincter. Why? Kasi these two vessels, okay, primarily control the resistance of your blood flow towards your organ. So kung hindi naman kailangan ng blood flow ng organ mo, kukonstrict yan. Kung kailangan niya ng blood flow, it will relax and it will dilate. So very important ang regulation ng smooth muscle sa arterioles and precapillary sphincters. How about sa veins? Bakit marami silang smooth muscle? Well, because your veins are the reservoir of your blood, di ba? So kapag you have serious bleeding, di ba, you can mobilize the blood in your veins, which are your capacitance vessels. Diyan nakastore yung blood mo, di ba? You want to mobilize that blood by constricting them so that papunta yung blood from the veins. So, constrict mo yung blood sa veins. So, now the blood will now be pumped back to your arterial circulation. Diba? So, hindi makakompromise yung blood flow to your vital organs when you're bleeding. Okay? So, I think those are the important points in this figure. Now, I want to differentiate blood flow from blood velocity. This is very important. Kasi yung mga formulas na gagamitin natin and the understanding itself, the intuitive understanding of how things work in hemodynamics rests upon these two parameters. Blood flow is the amount of blood passing through a given area, okay, over a given amount of time. Amount of blood or volume siya of blood. Gaano karami yung dumadaan sa isang area after some time. Velocity, on the other hand, is the distance traveled by that blood over time. Gaano siya kalayo nag-travel. Those are very different things. Your blood flow is in cubic centimeters. Ganyan karami ang blood that was able to pass through a given area for 1 second, for example. Ganyan karaming blood. That's the volume of blood. Pero yung velocity, excuse me, that's how far your blood flows from a point to another point. The distance na tinravel niya, okay, for a given amount of time. Kung gaano siya kalayo, and that's of course measured only in centimeters. So for example, 27 centimeters per second. Ito yung sinasabi dyan. Okay? It's entirely possible na malayo nga yung tinravel ng blood mo, pero konti lang naman yung amount. Konti lang yung flow. Diba? Pwedeng malayo yung tinravel niya. Pwedeng umabot ng 50 cm. Okay? Mataas ang velocity niya, 50 cm per second. Pero the amount na nag-travel, the volume na nag-travel can be low. Kung constricted to, for example. Diba? So that's how you differentiate between blood flow and blood velocity. So let's take velocity muna. What are the factors that affect the velocity of blood flow? Observe muna natin before we get into the formulas. Here you have Q is flow. Q is flow. Pwede ring F, pero usually you use Q. So Q, for example, is 10 milliliters per second. How fast will this blood flow in tubes or vessels of varying areas. So kung 2 square centimeters area, cross-sectional area ng vessel mo, the velocity is 5 centimeter per second. Kung pinalaki natin, 10 square centimeters, naging 1 centimeter per second. So what did we notice? Bumaba yung velocity. Nung dilitan ulit natin, kinonstrict natin, ginawa natin siyang 1 square centimeter, it increased, the velocity increased back to 10 centimeters per second. So what can we infer here? The velocity of blood flow is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area. The greater your cross-sectional area, the slower the blood flow, and the lower the cross-sectional area, the faster your blood flow. Okay? So we can represent that via this formula, V is equal to F over A. Pag pinakita kayo ng ganito formula, of course, the ones in your numerator are always directly related to this variable, and the ones in your denominator is inversely related. In such a way na pag in-increase mo to, numerator, tataas din yung your variable, your dependent variable. And kung din-increase mo naman, or kung in-increase mo naman yung denominator mo, that would cause a decrease in your dependent variable. Okay? So, what can we say? So, nasabi na natin that your area and velocity are inversely proportional, and it makes sense, diba? For example, if you have a hose, I think I have a picture here. Ayan. If you have a hose with constant flow, tapos tinakpan mo yung area na labasan ng tubig, then what happens to the velocity of your blood flow? Di ba it increases? Parang bumibilis yung pag-exit ng water from the hose. Di ba? So yun yung pinapakita ng formula na to. And of course, if you have increased flow, that would also increase the velocity because you have a lot more fluid, you have a lot more volume that you need to ipadaan, di ba? Sa blood vessel. So you need to increase the velocity para lahat ng blood na yun ay makapag-pass through a given area. Kasi in-increase mo nga yung volume, in-increase mo yung amount of blood mo, di ba? Okay. So, as we can see here, we can see the total cross-sectional area of these vessels. Hindi lang to cross-sectional area ng isang vessel. So, mapapansin nyo na bakit yung capillaries ang taas ng cross-sectional area even if they are the smallest vessels. That's because tinake natin yung area ng lahat ng capillaries in our body, diba? And we can see here that they have the greatest cross-sectional area. They may be the smallest, but there are a lot of them. Kaya ang taas ng cross-sectional area nila. Meanwhile, the aorta may be the largest single blood vessel, largest artery, but it has the smallest cross-sectional area. Kasi nag-iisa lang siya in comparison to your capillaries na maliit nga pero marami. So as we can see here, yung cross-sectional area from your aorta to your capillaries increases. And what happens to the velocity? It decreases. Kasi nga inverse ang relationship ng cross-sectional area and velocity. Such that the greatest velocity we can see at this point is in the aorta. And the slowest velocity at this point is in the capillaries. Okay? That's because your cross-sectional area is inversely related to your flow. To your velocity, sorry. Again, your cross-sectional area is inversely related, okay, to your velocity. Okay, so how about flow? So ito na yung volume of blood or the amount of blood flowing through a given area per a given time. So the parameters here are the change in pressure gradient. So pressure in the initial segment versus the pressure in the final segment over the resistance. So of course, may friction dyan sa blood vessel walls. So if you have a great pressure gradient, so yung difference ng pressures mo are big, so let's say 150 dito, tas dito 50, then you have enough push, there's enough pressure difference that allows your blood to flow, diba? So you have an increase in the flow. How about resistance? Kung in-increase mo yung resistance, sabi ko pag sa denominator, that would cause a decrease in the flow. Because of course, resistance is the impedance to or the blockage to your flow. Diba? If you have a lot of resistance, then the amount of blood that's going to flow will also decrease. So your flow will decrease. Diba? So, how about if we increase the final pressure naman? Sabi natin, diba? Change in pressure is directly related to flow. How about if we increase the final pressure? Ginawa natin itong 75. Plus 150 pa rin yung initial pressure. What happened to the gradient? Dito kanina, ang gradient natin is 100. Here, ang gradient na lang natin is 75. So, mas konti na lang yung difference ng dalawang pressures. Therefore, my flow would also decrease. Did you get that? I hope nagets nyo kung bakit naging ganun. Okay? Because now the difference between them is less. Konti na lang yung magiging push. Therefore, the flow would also be decreased. Okay? So, what are the factors that affect your resistance right here? So, one of them is kung series yung vessels mo or parallel. So, we learned in physics, di ba? Pag in series, we just add the individual resistances. Pero kapag parallel, the reciprocal of the total resistance is equal to the sum of the reciprocals of all the resistors, or in this case, the vessels. And this makes sense kasi, of course, kapag nag-add ka ng maraming vessels in series, that would increase the amount of friction na kailangan ma-encounter ng blood mo. Diba? Yung blood mo tumatama dun sa walls, that increases the friction there. Sorry, the increase in the number of blood vessels in series increases the amount of friction, increasing the resistance. Pero kung parallel, then, hindi lang isa yung pwedeng daanan ng blood mo. Hindi lang isang pathway yung pwedeng daanan ng blood mo. There's also this pathway, there's also this pathway, there's also this pathway. So marami siyang pwedeng daanan, therefore, my total resistance decreases. Okay? So always ang resistance is higher in series and the resistance is always lower in parallel. Okay? So how about another formula for flow? So dagdagan natin ng parameters or factors that can affect flow. So you might be familiar with this already, diba? This is Poiseuille's law. What are the factors here? So pi, of course, yung constant natin about yung ating mga circular structures, diba? For example, diameter, area, diba? Pi r squared, diba? Always may encounter natin si pi kapag we're dealing with circular structures. Change in pressure, still the same. Pero may bago tayo dito, that's your resistance. Sorry, radius. R here is radius, okay? R here is radius. And kung mapapansin nyo, it's raised to the 4th power. What does this mean? Anong importance nito? Ibig sabihin, even a small change in the radius of your blood vessel will have a great effect on the amount of blood flow. And makikita natin nasa numerator siya. Nasa numerator siya, so meaning an increase in your numerator will increase your flow. Therefore, an increase in your radius will increase your flow. And it's raised to the 4th power. Diba? It's raised to the 4th power. So for example, dinoble natin yung radius ng blood vessel. That would not cause a doubling in the flow, but it would cause 2 to the 4th power times the increase in flow, which is 16 times of flow. Ay, may natin dito. Diameter ng itong maliit na vessel is 1, flow is 1. Diameter, dinoble natin, ginawa natin 2. But the flow increased by 16 times. Ganyan kalaki ang effect ng radius of your blood vessel on the flow. That's the most important parameter affecting your flow. So for example, kung nag-vasoconstrict yung vessels mo, or nag-vasodilate yung vessels mo, that would cause the greatest effect on the blood flow to an organ. On the denominator, we have Greek letter eta, meaning viscosity. Of course, kung viscous, di ba, malapot, then that would cause increased resistance and decrease the flow. Kaya siya nasa denominator. And of course, yung length, of course, as we said, kung mahaba yung vessels mo, there's increased friction, increasing the resistance, decreasing your flow. Okay? So how about if we're going to determine if the flow is turbulent or laminar? So, turbulent flow, meaning, ayan, no, magulo yung pag-flow niya, hindi in order. Kapag laminar, that's peaceful flow. So, yan, no, in straight layers, in parallel layers, yung flow. Okay? When will these two happen? So, we have a parameter here called your Reynolds number. Your Reynolds number determines if the flow will be more likely turbulent or laminar. The flow would be more likely turbulent if you have a high Reynolds number, and laminar if you have a low Reynolds number. So ano ba yung, eto dito, ayan, less than 2,000, that's laminar, and above 3,000, that's turbulent, and in between, that's transition. So what are the factors that increase your Reynolds number? That's your velocity, diameter, and your density. Okay? The only parameter that decreases your Reynolds number pag nag-increase siya is your viscosity. So if we think about it, kung viscous yung blood natin, malapot, okay? Then, why would your flow be laminar? Kasi magde-decrease yung Reynolds number. Diba? Kasi magiging more peaceful yung blood flow. Kasi malapot siya, mabagal galaw niya, there's only low flow. And so there would not be very much turbulence. In comparison, kapag may anemia ka, for example, you have low hematocrit and thus low viscosity, then your blood is less viscous. So mas nakaka-flow siya easily. And kung mas nakaka-flow siya easily, mabilis yung velocity niya here, causing increased turbulence. Ayan, nag-form ng mga ganito, lalo na pag mabilis yung flow. Diba? These are called eddy currents. These turbulent currents here. Okay? So tandaan, only viscosity will favor laminar flow. An increase in viscosity will favor laminar flow. The rest will favor turbulent flow. Okay? So how about naman yung tension on the walls of your blood vessels? So of course, there's pressure being exerted in the walls of your blood vessels by your blood. By the way, huwag kayong malito kasi merong mga terminology here, may be distending force or wall tension. There are subtle differences. Pero for this matter, I just want you to know, di ba, tension is a pulling force. So kung mapapansin nyo dito, there's pulling of the walls of your blood vessel. And that's caused by both your radius of your blood vessel and the distending pressure. Siyempre, kung mataas yung pressure mo in your blood vessel, the more your blood vessel is pulled apart, increasing the tension. And of course, the larger your blood vessel is, mataas ang radius, the more tension it is kasi mas stretched out siya. Kasi malaki yung radius niya. Anong significance nito? Why do aneurysms more commonly occur in aorta, in large vessels? Bakit hindi nangyayari in capillaries? Even if you have high blood pressure, bakit hindi puputok yung capillaries natin? Well, it's because your capillaries have a low radius. Maliit lang sila. Diba? So there's not much wall tension. There's not much pulling on the walls of your blood vessels. So safe sila, hindi sila napupull apart. Okay? So kahit taasan mo yung transmural pressure mo, kahit taasan mo yung blood pressure mo, hindi sila puputok because they have a very, very small radius. They can afford a very large increase in pressure kasi maliit lang sila. The tension is not that great. But your aorta already has a very large radius. Siya nga yung largest blood vessel natin. It already has a very large radius, meaning initially mataas na kaagad yung tension niya. Okay? So kapag mataas yung blood pressure mo, your transmural pressure, that would further exacerbate your wall tension, and that could cause weakening of the walls, causing aneurysm. Okay? See. So computation of your mean arterial pressure, di ba? Pressure is the force exerted by your blood vessels over an area of your blood vessels. Okay? So your mean arterial pressure, kaya nga mean arterial pressure, is taken from your systolic blood pressure and your diastolic blood pressure. Pero times 2 natin yung diastolic blood pressure kasi your diastolic phase is twice as long as your systolic phase, approximately twice as long as your systolic phase. And so for example, systolic blood pressure ko is 140 and ang diastolic blood pressure ko is 50. So how do I compute my mean arterial pressure? So that's 140 plus 2 times my diastolic blood pressure, which is 100 over 3. That's 240 over 3. That's 80 ang aking mean arterial pressure. Or I can also use this formula, diastolic blood pressure, which is 50, plus 1/3 of my pulse pressure. And my pulse pressure is just the difference between my systolic blood pressure and your diastolic blood pressure, di ba? You feel your pulse, di ba? And so your pulse pressure is the force exerted by the heart during contraction, di ba? And that would also transmit the force towards your blood vessels. Diba? That's your pulse pressure, and that's the difference between your systolic and your diastolic blood pressure. So that's 140 minus 50, that's 90. So 1/3 times 90, that's 30 plus 50, that's also 80. That's your mean arterial pressure. Okay? And on the right side of your screen, you can see here the most important formula in all of physiology. And you will bring this formula with you. You will bring your understanding of this formula with you until the end of your careers, until the end of our careers, because this is very, very foundational in maintaining blood flow throughout our organs. Your mean arterial pressure, which also determines the perfusion pressure of your organs, is determined by your cardiac output and your total peripheral resistance. Total peripheral resistance just refers to the resistance offered by the vessels in your body. So kung constricted, edi mataas ang resistance. Kung dilated, mababa ang resistance. There are a lot of factors that affect this. Later, makikita natin. Intrinsic factors like your metabolites, myogenic regulation, and extrinsic factors like your hormones and neural stimulation. Cardiac output is affected by your heart rate, how fast your heart is beating, and how much blood is being pumped out per beat. That's your stroke volume. And recall natin is affected by your contractility or the inherent strength of the contraction of the heart. Your afterload, which is the force or the pressure that the heart needs to overcome. That's primarily the pressure in the aorta. Bakit siya 1/, because opposite siya. The greater the pressure in your aorta, okay, the greater amount of pressure that the heart needs to exert. There's a lot of resistance na kailangan i-overcome ng aorta. Kailangan i-overcome ng heart mo to pump blood into the aorta, which would decrease your stroke volume. Okay? But preload is the amount of blood, sabi dyan, returning to the heart, and that is affected by your venous tone. So if you have high venous tone, so constricted yung veins mo, then it allows blood to go from your veins back to your right atrium. That would increase your preload and your stroke volume and then your cardiac output. Your total blood volume also affects, of course, the amount of blood returning to the heart. Siyempre, if we intake a lot of water, okay, or IV fluids, that would increase our water content, our blood volume, increasing the preload. And kapag water output naman palabas, so that would decrease the preload. Diba? Okay. So now we move on to cardiovascular regulation. So here in cardiovascular regulation, there are some very important core principles that we need to understand. For example, in resting state, which of the following organs receive majority of your cardiac output? And as we can see, at rest, diba? Rest and digest, your parasympathetic is dominating. Your splanchnic circulation carries the greatest amount of cardiac, receives the greatest amount of blood from your cardiac output. Splanchnic circulation, your intestines, diba? Your GI tract. Meanwhile, your skeletal muscle, your skin, diba? Mababa lang sila kasi resting nga naman. But your cerebral and your coronary circulation receive adequate amount of blood regardless kung anong maging state nila. Because there's excellent autoregulation here, there's excellent regulation because these are your two vital organs and you always want them to be properly perfused. Okay? Dito naman, this happens during exercise. So during exercise, what happens? There's increased activity, there's increased metabolism that would increase the blood flow to your heart. Of course, you need your heart to pump faster. You want your skeletal muscles to work harder, to run, or to weight lift. Diba? Your skin, bakit kailangan mag-increase ng cardiac output dyan? Because you want to dissipate the heat. If you increase the blood flow, okay, to your skin, that will allow heat to dissipate from your body. Okay? Para hindi ka mag-overheat during exercising. And what happens to the other tissues like your splanchnic circulation sa GI tract mo, sa kidneys mo, and sa other tissues, they decrease. Why? So that your cardiac output will not be wasted on these organs. Pupunta sila sa kailangan talaga. Like your coronary circulation and your skeletal muscle. Because these are the ones that are active during exercise. How about this one? This happens, okay, during meals. So what happens during meals is you have a great increase in your splanchnic circulation kasi you want more blood flow to go there Kasi you are ingesting a lot of nutrients and you want to be able to absorb those nutrients into your blood. And you want your splanchnic circulation, your GI tract to work properly, so you need to increase your blood flow there. Hindi mo naman kailangan ng kidneys, ng muscle, lalo na pag inactive in the skin. Okay? So that would cause decrease there. And kung mapapansin nyo, laging constant yung blood flow to the brain and to the heart because you really, really want to maintain adequate blood flow to these organs, vital organs. Okay? So ito lang summary, during massive hemorrhage, ang nagda-dilate lang is your coronary and cerebral. Again, vital organs. Isipin niyo lagi, hemorrhage, what do I want to perfuse the most for me to survive? That's your brain and your heart. Sila ang magda-dilate. The rest, you don't need these organs. Magko-constrict sila so that blood flow will not go to them and so that blood will go preferentially to your brain and your heart. During exercise, you want your brain and your heart, di ba, to have dilated blood vessels kasi like syempre you're having a lot of activity. Same thing goes with your skeletal muscle for you to be able to be active and your skin to be able to dissipate heat. Constricted ang renal and splanchnic and the others because of course you don't need blood flow to these organs during exercise. Okay? Okay, here is probably one of the most important figures that you really have to master 100% because this will dictate how you will understand everything regarding cardiovascular regulation and special circulation. What can we notice here? On the left-hand side, you have your kidney, splanchnic organs, and skin. These organs are primarily regulated by your sympathetic stimuli. On the right-hand side, your brain, heart, muscle, and skeletal muscle are primarily regulated, your blood flow dito are primarily regulated by metabolic factors or metabolism. Let's prove that. During maximal sympathetic activity to your kidneys, splanchnic organs, and skin, your normal flow decreases so much. Kasi sympathetic constricts, di ba? Ano bang function ng sympathetic nervous system? Vasoconstriction. Di ba? Since these three organs, or these three groups of organs, are primarily regulated by sympathetic discharge, look at what happens to the flow kapag nagkaroon ng maximum sympathetic activity, the blood flow decreased so much, tremendously. And kapag naman binitawan mo yung sympathetic activity, you decreased or ginawa mo zero yung sympathetic activity, look what happens. The blood flow increases tremendously as well. Pero kung may maximum metabolic activity ka, you're exercising, there's just very low amount of increase in flow. Actually nga, kanina nakita natin, di ba, during exercise, nagko-constrict pa nga sila. Di ba? Because during exercise, you also have sympathetic activity. But if pure metabolic activity lang, for example, splanchnic organs, kumakain ka, di ba? Your metabolic activity there would only cause a low amount of increase in blood flow. It is really your sympathetic stimulation that would cause tremendous changes in the blood flow to these organs. Meanwhile, opposite sa brain, heart, and skeletal muscle. Even if you have maximum sympathetic activity to these organs, the blood flow decreased only very little. If you decrease the sympathetic activity, the blood flow increases very little as well. But with maximum metabolic activity, the amount of flow increases tremendously. Diba? That's because, again, your brain, heart, and skeletal muscle are greatly affected and are primarily regulated by your maximum metabolic activity. Okay. Again, one last reiteration. So this is very, very important. Those with sympathetic regulation primarily are your kidney, splanchnic organs, and the skin. Those with primarily metabolic regulation, and thus the blood flow affected is greater in metabolic activity, is in your brain, heart, and skeletal muscle. Okay? So, this is a very, very good diagram because here you will see how your mean arterial pressure is regulated by changes both in your total peripheral resistance and your cardiac output. Muto muna tayo sa total peripheral resistance. Diba sabi natin that's the resistance offered by your blood vessels. What are the factors that constrict or dilate your blood vessels? you have your intrinsic or local controls, and you have your extrinsic or neural and hormonal controls. For local controls, ganito lang kailangan nyo tandaan. Most substances in your local controls are released after metabolic activity, and most of them cause vasodilation. For example, carbon dioxide released after metabolism, hydrogen ions, adenosine, di ba ATP breaking down? Kasi active ka, naging adenosine. All of these things, majority of these things are vasodilators. The only substance that you need to remember that nagva-vasoconstrict is endothelin 1. That's it. Pag naalala mo that endothelin 1 is a vasoconstrictor, the rest are vasodilators. Okay? How about low oxygen? Siyempre, low oxygen, you want your organs to have sufficient oxygen content. So you want to vasodilate so that more blood will flow. Diba? Logic. How about yung myogenic response? What's this? For example, sobrang taas ng blood pressure ng perfusion mo towards an organ, and that could also be very damaging kung sobra-sobra naman. What happens is the amount of pressure, diba, that your blood is putting on the walls of your blood vessels, okay, stimulates a contraction of the smooth muscles on your blood vessels. Okay? So pag nag-contract yung smooth muscles mo on your blood vessels, that would cause vasoconstriction. So kapag sobrang taas ng blood pressure, sobrang taas ng perfusion, you don't want that to happen so much, nagkakaroon ng vasoconstriction or your myogenic response. Okay? And that is said to be mediated by yung calcium release from your, di ba? Recall, di ba? Your calcium release in your smooth muscle from your sarcoplasmic reticulum causes calcium to bind with calmodulin, causing your myosin to bind with actin, causing your cross-bridge cycling and subsequent vasoconstriction. Diba? So that's the myogenic response. For extrinsic or neural and hormonal controls, of course, vasoconstrictors, sympathetic, vasodilators, again, neurons that release nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a very potent vasodilator. Meanwhile, hormonal controls, so we can see here angiotensin. Nakikita natin mamaya yan sa renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. We also have vasopressin. And that's for your vasoconstrictors. And for vasodilators, you have atrial natriuretic peptide. Atrial natriuretic peptide is released when there's increased blood volume in the body. Okay? When you have increased blood volume in the body, you want to excrete it out. Diba? You don't want too much blood volume that would cause edema, and so you want it to be excreted. And so, natriuresis, uresis meaning urinate, natri meaning sodium. So that allows sodium to be excreted in the urine, and therefore, water follows. Kasi may osmotic property, diba? Sodium. So where sodium goes, water follows. Pero as we can see here, epinephrine is both a vasoconstrictor and a vasodilator. Why? At low concentrations, epinephrine, sige, bagawin natin yung placement ko. So at low concentrations, epinephrine is a vasodilator. Why? Kasi at low concentrations, epinephrine preferentially binds to beta-2 receptors. Recall, beta-2 receptors in signal transduction cause vasodilation, stimulation of your cyclic AMP. Meanwhile, at high concentrations, epinephrine preferentially activates your alpha-1 receptors. Anong signal transduction yun? That's GQ, causing release of IP3 and DAG, causing release of calcium, causing constriction. So again, at high concentrations, epinephrine preferentially binds to alpha-1, causing vasoconstriction. Epinephrine preferentially binds to beta-2 at low concentration, causing it to be a vasodilator. Okay? So how about now for your changes in your cardiac output? So cardiac output is affected by your heart rate and your stroke volume. Your heart rate, of course, it's nanggagaling yan yung impulses from your sinoatrial node. It can be increased by plasma epinephrine, diba? Binding to the beta-1 receptors in your heart, causing an increase in the heart rate. Kung sympathetic activity, of course, that will also increase the heart rate. Kung parasympathetic, that would decrease the heart rate. For your stroke volume, okay, diba, your stroke volume is affected by your preload. For example, ito, diba, given by your venous return. And ano yung nakaka-apekto dito sa venous return mo? Of course, the amount of blood you have in your body, blood volume, diba? That's your intake Uminom ka maraming tubig, that would increase the blood volume or output. Iniihi mo, you urinate, di ba? You decrease your water content, you decrease the blood volume. How about yung sympathetic activity of the sympathetic nerves to the veins? That would cause vasoconstriction. And so that would cause the blood to go from the veins back to the circulation. So that would increase your venous return and your preload. Diba? How about skeletal muscle pump? Diba, skeletal muscles natin can also, while they're contracting, that they could also squeeze the veins. Once they squeeze the veins, the blood will be pumped back to the right atrium. Diba? Increasing your preload. How about inspiration movements? Diba? This is your thoracic pump. Diba? What happens? When you inhale, what happens to the pressure in the thorax? When you inhale, the pressure in the thorax decreases. Kasi mas malaki yung blood volume. Diba? Kasi diaphragm descends, increasing the diameter or the volume in your thorax. Right? Decreasing the pressure. And so if you have a decreased pressure in your thorax, that would stimulate venous return. Diba? Konti lang yung pressure mo in your thorax, so that would stimulate also the blood in your veins to go back to your heart, to your circulation. Similarly, di ba kapag nag-inhale ka, you also compress on your abdominal cavity. The diaphragm compresses the abdominal cavity, further squeezing the veins, causing an increase in the preload. Okay? So, yun. So, this is just some key points dun sa figure na yon na malaki. So, for example, you have increased metabolic activity. Again, that would increase the metabolites. Again, most of your metabolites cause dilation. Okay? Increasing the blood flow. That's active hyperemia. Hyper, mataas, emia, meaning blood, increase in the blood flow when your organ is active. When your organ is active, you release more metabolites causing more dilation. Kapag naman flow autoregulation, kaya ang autoregulation, self-regulation, when it sends them decreased your arterial pressure, then of course, there's decreased blood flow. Okay? And anong gustong gawin ng organ or ng blood vessels papunta sa organ? Decrease yung blood flow. So you want to dilate it so that more blood will be able to flow. So that causes arteriolar dilation. That's flow autoregulation. Pag naman baliktad, if you have high arterial pressure, then you don't want too much blood. Eh, parang yung myogenic mechanism, di ba? That would now cause a vasoconstriction to limit the amount of blood that is going to your organs. Okay? So how about this one? Sympathetic neurons sa skeletal muscle, release of course norepinephrine na sympathetic, di ba? That would cause binding to their alpha receptors, causing vasoconstriction in your skeletal muscle arterioles. Meanwhile, epinephrine preferentially binds to beta-2, causing vasodilation. But of course, it can also bind to alpha-1 at high concentration, causing vasoconstriction. Okay? So, this might be confusing. Bakit? Pag sympathetic, di ba, exercise sympathetic, so dapat magko-constrict yung arterial skeletal muscle. But that does not happen, di ba? You want to have an increase in blood flow when you're exercising. Kasi nga, di ba, ang muscles natin are primarily controlled by metabolic factors, hindi sympathetic factors. Brain, heart, skeletal muscle, controlled by primarily metabolic factors. Ano ba? Kidneys, splanchnic, and skin, those are controlled by your sympathetic factors primarily. Okay? So this is an example of autoregulation. When the blood flow or the perfusion pressure is low, di ba? Anong ginagawa ng blood vessel? Binavasodilate niya sarili niya to maintain constant blood flow. Kung sobrang taas naman ang blood pressure, okay? Kung sobrang taas naman, then that would be very dangerous to the organ as well. It can cause edema and oxidative damage. So you want to maintain the constant or normal blood flow. You vasoconstrict your vessels para konti lang yung makadaloy, causing it to return back to normal ang blood flow sa organ. Okay? So this one, very important, renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, very important in controlling your blood pressure. Okay? Your decreased blood pressure is the stimulus. How is this sensed, di ba, in the kidney? Kasi sa kidney nanggagaling yung RAAS, yung renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. So if you have decreased flow or decreased blood flow or perfusion to your kidney, that will be sensed by some cells in your kidneys. And those cells na nag-sense na, mababa yung blood pressure, will release renin, which will activate an inactive enzyme produced from the liver called your angiotensinogen. Renin will activate angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1 will be activated by your angiotensin converting enzyme produced in the lungs into angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 by itself already has vasoconstrictive activity. Diba? Kasi nga, diba, you have decreased blood pressure, so you want to increase your blood pressure by increasing peripheral resistance. So vasoconstriction. So angiotensin can increase your blood pressure by vasoconstriction by stimulating the release of antidiuretic hormone from your posterior pituitary. Antidiuretic meaning hindi ka anti, di ba? Against diuretic urinate. So hindi mo i-excrete yung urine. So blood volume, more blood will stay in the circulation, increasing also your blood pressure. ADH is also called vasopressin. And vasopressin is one of our most potent vasoconstrictors as well. Kaya nga siya vasopress. Vasopress, so vasoconstriction. Okay? And lastly, one more effect of your angiotensin is it can go to your adrenal cortex and stimulate the release of your mineralocorticoid, your aldosterone. And your aldosterone stimulates sodium uptake from the kidneys, sodium reabsorption in the kidneys, and sabi natin, where sodium goes, water follows. So there's also water reabsorption as well. And so you would increase the amount of blood volume in your circulation, increasing your blood pressure. Okay? So here are some reflexes that can maintain homeostasis kapag nagkaroon ng change in some parameters like your blood pressure or your blood volume. So for your arterial baroreceptors sense changes in pressure. Okay? So they are located primarily in your aortic arch and your carotid sinus. Okay? Aortic arch and your carotid sinus here in the bifurcation of your common carotid artery into your internal and external carotid artery. They are able to sense very high mean arterial pressure. And of course, you don't want to be very hypertensive, of course, so that would cause a inhibition of your sympathetic nervous system. And of course, stimulation of your parasympathetic nervous system to decrease your mean arterial pressure. So baroreceptor, again, sense changes in pressure. Of course, the response will always be to return into homeostasis that would cause the inhibition of your sympathetic nervous system. Your cardiopulmonary baroreceptors, on the other hand, sense not the changes in the blood pressure, but the changes in the blood volume. And the changes in the blood volume are detected by increases in atrial pressure. Kasi di ba, all the blood returns back to the right atrium. And so if there's increased pressure there, there's increased blood volume. And so you don't want that also. Di ba? You want to maintain homeostasis, so your kidneys go into water-losing mode. You want to urinate and excrete as much fluid to maintain your normal blood volume. Okay? And lastly, you have your peripheral chemoreceptors. Your peripheral chemoreceptors, this table is wrong. Your peripheral chemoreceptors sense changes in decreased oxygen, partial pressure of oxygen, but increased partial pressures of carbon dioxide. Kaya nga siya chemoreceptor. It changes in your chemicals, diba? In your blood. You have low oxygen and high carbon dioxide, meaning you're not getting enough oxygen to your organs. There's also very high metabolism, leading to the production of a lot of carbon dioxide. And that is sensed by your peripheral chemoreceptors, causing sympathetic nervous system stimulation. It's also wrong. This is sympathetic nervous system stimulation. And that would cause, of course, increase in the heart rate, increase in the respiratory rate. Increasing the heart rate would allow more blood to flow to your organs. Kasi nga, konti na lang yung oxygen na dumadaloy or yung oxygen na meron tayo. So you want increase in your heart rate to be able to direct blood more to these organs. So that would increase your oxygen. Similarly, dahil sa increase in respiratory rate, you are inhaling more, you're oxygenating more. And you also cause a decrease in your partial pressure of carbon dioxide kasi you're increasing respiratory rate, you're blowing off more carbon dioxide. You're exhaling more carbon dioxide. Diba? So again, babalik tayo sa homeostasis. So again, ang mali dito sa table na to is peripheral chemoreceptor ang stimulus is increased partial pressure of carbon dioxide dapat, and that would cause sympathetic nervous system stimulation, causing returning of the partial pressure of oxygen to normal and also returning of your partial pressure of carbon dioxide to normal. Okay? So now we move on to your special circulations. Your special circulations are primarily consisting of your cerebral circulation, coronary circulation, ano pa ba? Cutaneous circulation, skeletal muscle circulation. Lahat yun are primarily governed, okay, by this main principle right here. Kidney, splanchnic, and skin, sympathetic, brain, heart, and skeletal, metabolic. So, I'll just be discussing some salient points about some special properties of these circulations. Primarily, for example, dito sa coronary circulation, because, of course, you expect blood flow to be greater in systole. Diba? Kasi that's the maximum force or pressure exerted, diba, between your cardiac cycles. And so expect more blood flow, more perfusion. But in the case of the heart, diba, your heart is supplied by your coronary arteries. Okay? And your coronary arteries, okay, are located on the surface of the heart mismo. So if you imagine, na nag-contract yung heart, diba? Nag-contract yung heart, since your coronary arteries are on top of it, it can cause compression of these coronary arteries. Kapag nag-compress yung coronary arteries, of course, there would be decrease in blood flow. Saan ba mas mataas ang pressure? Left coronary or right coronary? Di ba left coronary? Why? Kasi di ba that's where your left ventricle is. And your left ventricle is a lot thicker than your right ventricle because it has to pump the blood throughout your systemic circulation. And so look what happens during systole. When your left ventricle contracts, tingnan yung nangyari sa blood flow. Nag-zero. Why? Na-compress siya ng todo. Okay? But during diastole, na nag-relax na yung heart, your blood is now able to flow to your left coronary artery. Meanwhile, in your right coronary arteries, hindi naman siya ganun kalakas mag-pump, hindi ganun kalakas yung compression. It's still higher in systole than your diastole. So kapag pinag-compare kayo, left coronary blood flow, systole versus diastole, therefore diastole. Because in systole, nako-compress yung left coronary artery. Kapag right coronary artery, tapos systole versus diastole, again, that is systole. Kasi hindi naman ganun kataas yung compression, kasi hindi naman ganun kalakas yung pag-pump ng right ventricle. Therefore, during systole pa rin siya mas mataas ang blood flow. Pero pag tinanong kayo, during systole or during mid-systole, where is blood flow higher? Left coronary or right coronary? So baka malito kayo. Mid-systole, ano mas mataas? Right coronary artery? No. Sa right coronary artery, mas mataas ang systole kesa diastole. But during systole, ang kino-compare na natin is left coronary versus right coronary. Alin ang mas mataas? As you can see here, ang blood flow sa systole ng left coronary during mid-systole is around, yan, mga 190. Pero at mid-systole, ang blood flow sa right coronary artery is only about 50, 55. Diba? Bakit tumaas na yung blood flow sa left coronary during systole? Kasi, of course, hindi naman ganun katagal yung maximal contraction ng left ventricle during systole. There will come a time na marirelieve na yung compression on the left coronary artery during systole, and that would cause now your blood flow to be present in your left coronary artery, even during systole. Pero kung early systole, maximal compression of your left coronary nag-zero talaga. Therefore, during early systole, mas mataas pa rin sa right coronary. Okay? Only during mid-systole will your left coronary blood flow be greater than your right coronary blood flow. Okay? Pero, again, kung left coronary, systole versus diastole, still it's higher in diastole. Okay? So how about the cerebral circulation? Important lang dito is you have a blood-brain barrier that prevents substances from freely passing from your blood to your brain. Of course, you don't want substances to randomly regulate or affect the workings in your brain. Diba? So you need to have a tight regulatory mechanism, and that's provided by your blood-brain barrier. Okay? So here are some rapidly diffusible, yung mga non-polar natin, water, carbon dioxide. These are gases, di ba? Oxygen, lipid-soluble substances. Meanwhile, glucose, medyo malaki siya. That needs facilitated diffusion. Your ions, di ba? For example, these are charged substances. Mahirapan sila mag-pass through kasi nga, di ba? Your plasma membrane is a phospholipid bilayer which is very non-polar. Okay? And hindi talaga nag-cross yung mga malalaki nyong proteins and polypeptides. Okay? So, what are some factors that can affect the blood flow to your cerebral circulation, to your brain? Primarily, it's regulated by metabolic factors, di ba sabi natin? Primarily, carbon dioxide. Pero, hindi lang basta-basta carbon dioxide, di ba? It's primarily regulated by the amount of acidity in the fluid of your brain surrounding your neurons. So what happens kapag nagkaroon tayo ng acidosis? Check muna natin kapag metabolic acidosis. So recall, di ba, during metabolic acidosis, you have decreased bicarb. And so you have increased hydrogen ions in the systemic circulation. Pero sabi natin, your hydrogen ions are very slowly penetrating your blood-brain barrier. Hindi sila masyado nakakadaan across your blood-brain barrier, right? So, it's not going to affect your cerebral blood flow as much. Okay? Kahit nagkaroon ka ng metabolic acidosis, your bicarb decreases, increased in protons or your acid, your hydrogen ions. Since it does not cross the blood-brain barrier very well, it has very little effect on the cerebral blood flow. Pero kapag respiratory acidosis, meaning it's your partial pressure of carbon dioxide that increases, okay? Since carbon dioxide is a freely diffusible substance in the blood-brain barrier, your carbon dioxide can go to your cerebrospinal fluid, binding to the water there, producing carbonic acid, di ba? Your carbonic acid will dissociate into protons, hydrogen ions, and bicarbonate. So now, indirectly, parang nakapasok na yung hydrogen ion mo, your proton, di ba? Due to increased acidity during respiratory acidosis. But this is not direct kasi dumaan mo na siya as carbon dioxide which penetrated your blood-brain barrier, crossing to your cerebrospinal fluid which contains water, reacting using carbonic anhydrase enzyme to become carbonic acid, which dissociates into hydrogen ions and bicarbonate. And this is the one, this hydrogen ion here in the cerebrospinal fluid that causes pronounced vasodilation in your cerebral circulation. So it's the decrease in the pH of your CSF that causes the vasodilation, not the decrease in the pH or increase in acidity of your arterial circulation or your peripheral circulation. Okay? So how about kapag nagkaroon ka ng increased intracranial pressure? This is the Monroe-Kelly doctrine. Since we have a skull that is rigid and hindi nag-expand, the total volume, of course, of your brain, your blood, and the CSF right there should be constant. Kasi hindi siya makapag-expand. So much so that if you have an increase, okay, in one of these components, the volume will remain constant. And so you will have increased pressure inside the cavities of your skull. And that may cause compression of your brain. And that will lead you to your Cushing's triad. An increase in your intracranial pressure of greater than 20 millimeters mercury would cause hypertension, bradycardia, and irregular respirations. Hypertension because if you have increased intracranial pressure, that could also compress the blood flow going to your brain. Diba? You have increased intracranial pressure pushing on the walls of your blood vessels, constricting your blood vessels. You have decreased perfusion and blood flow going to the brain. And so the body goes into fight or flight mode, inactivating yung sympathetic nervous system, causing hypertension, constricting your blood vessels so that more blood will be diverted towards your brain. Furthermore, nagkakaroon ka ng increase in heart rate para mag-pump yung blood towards your brain. Diba? Pero sabi dyan, bakit bradycardia? Akala ko ba sympathetic stimulation? Well, it's because, number one, your baroreceptors, which sense an increase in pressure, are also activated, causing sympathetic inhibition, causing a decrease in the heart rate, causing bradycardia. Number two, nako-compress din yung mga brain centers, primarily in your brainstem, that control your cardiac contractions in the medulla. Diba? There are cardiac vagal centers there, or cardiac stimulatory and inhibitory centers there. Kapag na-compress yun due to the increased intracranial pressure, that would also cause bradycardia or slowing of the heart rate. And lastly, similar thing, na-compress yung respiratory centers in the pons, in the medulla. That would cause your irregular respirations. And this is Cushing's triad, and this is an emergency. Because you have increased intracranial pressure that can cause herniation and too much compression. Diba? Too much compression of your brain, okay, can cause herniation, causing death. Okay? So I don't think na-discuss nyo in detail ang skeletal circulation. Ang important lang dito, these vasodilate during intense metabolic activity, primarily during exercise. Ito naman, kailan ito nagdadilate? Diba? Primarily during meals. Okay? And kapag nagkaroon ka ng fight or flight response, these are stimulated primarily by your sympathetic. So, magko-constrict yung mga yan to divert the blood towards the essential organs like the brain and the heart. Pero pag kumakain ka, of course, there's high metabolic activity in the splanchnic circulation, also causing vasodilation. Okay? How about cutaneous circulation? This is quite complicated, pero ang important lang dito is, of course, your cutaneous circulation is very important in dissipating heat. So kung mainit, what do you want to do? You want to vasodilate the vessels in your skin so that more blood will flow there, more blood will be able to, the heat, and more heat will be able to be dissipated towards the environment. Okay? Para hindi sobrang taas ng core temperature natin. Meanwhile, during cold environment, you want to maintain normal core temperature, and so you don't want blood to be diverted to your skin kasi mag-dissipate lalo yung heat. Malamig na nga. And so you want to constrict the blood vessels in your skin to maintain your core temperature. Okay? And so that ends the core diagrams, some key principles regarding your vascular physiology. So now we go on to analyzing some questions in QCVR, CBA, and MTF. So warm up muna tayo using QCVR. Okay, so QCVR. So number one, variation relationship, increase in the diameter of tube will cause what effect on the flow? This is increase flow as well. Of course, this affects your radius, diba? And your radius is the most important determinant of your flow. To the fourth power siya. Such that even just a small increase in your radius, or diameter for that matter, would cause massive changes in your flow. So since mas malaki na yung pwede niyang daanan, mas marami na rin blood yung makakapag-flow. Okay, increased volume of blood passing through because of the increased radius. How about kung diameter of tube tas velocity? That would be decrease. That would be B. Kasi diba, increasing the diameter would cause increase in the cross-sectional area, which would decrease the velocity. Diba? Kasi inversely proportional ang cross-sectional area and velocity. How about number two? Partial pressure of oxygen and coronary vascular resistance. O sige, palitan natin yung tanong. Partial pressure of oxygen would cause vasoconstriction, that's increased coronary vascular resistance, or vasodilation, decreased coronary vascular resistance. Ano bang stimulus ng vasodilation ng coronary vasculature? Di ba? Decreased oxygen. Kasi decreased oxygen mo, of course, you want more blood to flow to restore the oxygen in your coronary arteries. Eh kung marami ka ng oxygen, mataas na yung partial pressure of oxygen mo, then you don't need blood flow to increase to your coronary vasculature. Di ba? So, that would cause a vasoconstriction and an increase in the coronary vascular resistance. Okay? Kasi of course, kahit kung sobrang taas na ng partial pressure of oxygen mo, that would cause a lot of oxidative stress. And that could also damage the blood vessels in your heart. Okay, you don't want too much as well of oxygen. Even if kailangan na kailangan ng coronary arteries natin ng oxygen to supply the heart muscles, di ba? So, yun. That would cause vasoconstriction kung sobrang taas ng partial pressure of oxygen. Paano kapag partial pressure of carbon dioxide and coronary vascular resistance? That would be decrease. Kasi increased partial pressure of carbon dioxide, that's a metabolite that would cause vasodilation, therefore decreased coronary vascular resistance. Okay? Number 3, bleeding and blood flow to the kidney. Kapag nag-bleed ka, do you want more blood to flow to your kidney for you to excrete more fluids into your urine? Of course not, di ba? Nagdudugo ka na nga. You want to preserve as much blood volume and so you will decrease your blood flow to the kidney. Vasoconstrict mo yung vessels to your kidney so that your blood will be preferentially diverted to your vital organs like your brain and the heart. Next, QC, quantitative comparison. Which has a higher resistance, arterioles or capillaries? At first glance, baka isipin natin capillaries because they have the smallest diameter. Sila yung pinakamaliit, so dapat sila yung pinakamataas na resistance. Unfortunately, remember that your capillaries are arranged in parallel. Diba? So, bumababa ang resistance. In comparison to your arterioles, which are, of course, meron ding mga parallel circuits na arterioles, but there are a lot of them as well na in series pa rin. Diba? And your arterioles also have a lot of smooth muscle. And that smooth muscle can control the blood flow. Diba? By vasoconstriction and vasodilation. And that's the reason why your arterioles are the primary controllers of your tissue perfusion and your vascular resistance. Okay? So, answer here is letter A, arterioles. Metabolic control, skeletal muscle, brain, both of them. Diba? Brain, heart, and skeletal muscle. So, that's C. Next, arterial baroreceptor stimulation and the mean arterial pressure variation relationship. If you have a stimulation of your arterial baroreceptors, that would cause a decrease in your mean arterial pressure. Diba? Kasi ang stimulus nga ng arterial baroreceptor is increased mean arterial pressure and you want to return it back to normal. So you inhibit the sympathetic nervous system. Diba? You stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, causing a decrease in your mean arterial pressure. Next, Laplace law. Diba? Your descending pressure and your wall tension. Well, that is very obvious. This is letter A. If you have a very high pressure that pushes on the walls of your vessel, then that would cause a much stronger pulling force on the walls of your blood vessel, increasing your wall tension. Okay? Decreased renal blood flow and ADH secretion. So what is activated here? Decreased renal blood flow causes decreased perfusion to your kidney. Masisense yan ng mga juxtaglomerular cells. Okay? And that would cause the release of renin. Diba? Activating angiotensinogen to become angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1 activated to angiotensin 2 via ACE. And angiotensin 2 can stimulate the release of ADH from the posterior pituitary gland. So this is letter A. And that would restore your blood volume. Okay, antidiuretic, hindi mo i-urinate yung blood or your body fluids. Next, left coronary inflow during tachycardia or bradycardia. How can we analyze this? Which has a greater left coronary inflow? So of course, di ba primarily, your left coronary arteries are perfused during diastole. Di ba during diastole? If you have tachycardia, then your blood or your heart is pumping very fast. There's no longer any time to relax. And so, there's less coronary inflow. Meanwhile, kung bradycardia or slow yung pag-pump ng heart, then mas makaka-relax yung heart. There's longer diastolic time, longer amount of time for your blood to go to your left coronary artery. Therefore, there's greater left coronary inflow during bradycardia. Okay? Next, percentage of left coronary artery blood flow during diastole or systole. As we said, merong compression na nangyayari during systole. Therefore, the blood flow in the left coronary artery would be greater in your diastole. Okay? Next, variation relationship, respiratory rate, and caliber of our cerebral arterioles. Caliber meaning kung vasodilate ba siya or vasoconstricted. Kung high caliber, so patent siya, so vasodilated. Kung low caliber, so vasoconstricted. If you increase the respiratory rate, then you also blow off or exhale a lot of carbon dioxide. You lower your carbon dioxide. Therefore, what happens? You have low amount of your metabolite. Therefore, hindi magva-vasodilate, kundi magva-vasoconstrict ang cerebral arteriole. So that is letter P. Next, variation relationship, food ingestion and sympathetic nervous system activation of splanchnic vessels. Answer, C. Bakit? Kasi di ba, your food ingestion does not cause SNS activation of your splanchnic vessels but your parasympathetic nervous system. Di ba? Okay. Next, variation relationship, viscosity of blood and Reynolds number. What did we say about viscosity and Reynolds number? It's the only one that causes a decrease in the Reynolds number. It's the only one that causes or promotes laminar or quiet flow. Okay? Sige. Next, cerebral vessel diameter with an increase in the CSF hydrogen ions or increase in systemic hydrogen ions. O, di ba sabi natin, pag nasa systemic circulation yung hydrogen ions, it cannot pass through the blood-brain barrier as quickly as yung carbon dioxide and thus, hindi masyadong naapektuhan yung blood vessels ng brain. Pero kapag carbon dioxide yung nag-diffuse, that would cause binding to your water in the cerebrospinal fluid, causing formation of carbonic acid, causing dissociation into your proton or your hydrogen ion. This is the one that's going to affect your cerebral vessel diameter, causing vasodilation. So letter A. And lastly, arterioles. Ano mas marami, elastic tissue or smooth muscle tissue? Answer is smooth muscle tissue because you want your arterioles to be able to regulate the flow of blood through your organs via vasoconstriction and vasodilation. Okay? So here are the answers. Okay, so if that's too easy for you, so here are some high intensity questions. Your choose the best answer questions. So based on the figure below, this is the correct statement. So here's the figure. So are the vessel components arranged in parallel? No. The vessel components are arranged in series. Diba? We have here the flow, 5,000 milliliters per minute, pressure differences or pressures across these areas of the blood vessel. We have a narrowing here, diba yung mga resistances natin? Right? So sabi dyan, arranged in parallel, no, this is in series. Kasi wala namang branching points, di ba? Wala namang ganito. The resistance to blood flow offered by R3 is 0.02. So 0.02 daw yung resistance nito. Check natin. Ano ba formula ng resistance? Di ba sabi natin, flow is equal to change in pressure over resistance. Therefore, flow over change in pressure is equal to the reciprocal of the resistance. So resistance natin would be the reciprocal of this one. So that would be change in pressure over flow. So compute natin, change in pressure ko is from 100, naging 0. 100 minus 0, that's 100. Over my flow, which is 5,000. 100 over 5,000 is 0.02. Tama. So I think this is the correct answer, letter B. Next, the resistance to blood flow offered by R1 is greater than R2. So this one daw ba is greater than this one? Kung magkaiba yung pressure difference nila, then that means there's a difference in the resistance offered by R1 and R2. Pero 300 to 200 is just a 100 pressure difference. And 200 to 100 is also a 100 pressure difference. So same lang yung resistance to blood flow offered by both of them. So this is wrong. And letter D, the total peripheral resistance is less than the resistance offered by R3. Hindi. Kasi this is in series. Therefore, you add the individual resistances to get the total resistance. And that would be more than your individual resistances. So the answer here is letter B. Okay? Next. Hemorrhage can cause severe anemia to individuals. Murmurs due to anemia may be explained by murmurs. Therefore, there is turbulent flow. What are the factors that promote turbulent flow? Velocity, density, velocity, diameter, and density over viscosity. So, bakit kapag anemia, nagkakaroon ng turbulent flow? Is it a reduction in the radius of the tube? No, wala namang nangyaring ganyan. Doubling of the vessel length? Wala namang nangyaring ganyan. Reduction in the viscosity. Tama, di ba? Kasi during anemia, you have decreased number of red blood cell, causing a decrease in your hematocrit, causing decrease in the viscosity of your blood. Kung decrease ang viscosity mo, your Reynolds number would increase, causing turbulent flow, di ba? High Reynolds number is turbulent flow, causing murmurs. So I think this is the right answer. Increase in the density? No, nag-decrease nga kasi anemia. So answer here is letter C. This scenario would lead to the greatest reduction in blood flow. Dehydration? Pwede. Question mark muna. Decreasing cardiac contractility? Pwede. Question mark muna. Bypassing a blocked vessel with a long synthetic graft? I think this is wrong. Kasi syempre kung na-block yung vessel tapos naglagay ka ng synthetic graft, parang bypass, then that would restore the flow, diba, to your blocked vessel or to your blocked organ or area. Vasoconstriction, diba sabi natin that any change in the diameter or the radius is raised to the 4th power pag flow. So definitely, this one would lead to the greatest reduction in the blood flow. Again, formula natin, di ba? Pi change in pressure R to the 4th over the 8 times your viscosity and the length. This is R to the 4th power, leading to a great change in your flow, and that's what happens during vasoconstriction. Okay? When a fluid is forced to flow through a system of tubes of different cross-sectional areas, the highest velocity will be seen in. Saan nga ang highest velocity natin? Velocity is equal to flow over area. Therefore, the lower the area, the higher the velocity. Therefore, the fastest will be at the lowest cross-sectional area, which is letter C. Okay? Next, there is increased resistance in this scenario. Increased resistance. Vessels in parallel, no? That would cause a decreased resistance kasi maraming pwedeng daanan yung blood. Dilated vessel, no? Siyempre, mas malaki yung dadaanan niya, decreased resistance. Turbulent pattern, yes, kasi you form eddy currents and these eddy currents block or impede the blood flow. Anemic patient, no? Because if you're anemia, you have decreased viscosity. Therefore, hindi malapot yung blood mo, there's also decreased resistance. Kuha ba yun? Answer is letter C. A 25-year-old lady consulted due to difficulty of breathing. She was diagnosed with mitral stenosis, meaning yung mitral valve ko is narrowed. Okay? So, nagkaroon ng narrowing. O basta imagine nyo, nag-narrow yung mitral valve. Nag-narrow yung opening between the left atrium and left ventricle. Okay? A diastolic murmur was heard at the apex. So again, there's turbulent flow. Diastolic murmur, di ba? Sounds. So it's due to increased velocity ba? I think this is right. Bakit nag-increase ang velocity? Because kung sumikip yung area between the left atrium and left ventricle due to mitral stenosis, then you have decreased cross-sectional area, increasing your velocity, and increased velocity favors turbulent flow. How about decrease in viscosity? Wala namang nangyaring ganyan. Increase in density, wala rin nangyaring ganyan. Shear stress in the wall, parang wala namang nangyaring ganyan. Well, although there's mitral stenosis, diba, causing narrowing, so that might increase the shear stress in the wall. But shear stress in the wall is not a factor in your Reynolds number. Diba? In your turbulence. Diba? Ano lang yun? Velocity, diameter, and density over viscosity. Okay? So, the increase in the velocity was the one that actually triggered the increase in turbulence. Okay? In a vessel that has constricted, this variable has to increase to keep the flow to the organ constant. Ano nga ulit formula ng flow? That's change in pressure over resistance. Kapag nag-increase daw ang resistance due to constriction, how do you maintain your flow? Tinasan mo yung denominator mo to balance your flow. You also have to increase your numerator. And so you have to increase your pressure difference, which is this one. Clear? Select the principle applied in each of the following scenarios, either Ohm, Laplace, Reynolds, or Poiseuille. Ohm's law, flow is equal to pressure over resistance. Laplace, tension is equal to the pressure times the radius. Reynolds, that will determine your turbulence depending on the velocity, diameter, and density over the viscosity. And Poiseuille, the amount of flow based on the radius, pressure difference, viscosity, and the length. So, atherosclerotic plaques cause turbulent flow. Pag narinig yung turbulent flow, this is definitely Reynolds. Bakit nagkaroon ng turbulent flow? Kasi nagkaroon ng atherosclerotic plaques, narrowing your vessel diameter. Okay? Bumaba ang cross-sectional area, causing an increase in the velocity, causing turbulent flow. So, wag kayo malilito. Baka sabihin niyo, Reynolds number, velocity, diameter, density. Atherosclerosis, so bumaba yung density, therefore, bababa Reynolds number. No, it's the increase in velocity that predominates here, causing an increase in Reynolds number, causing turbulent flow. Okay? Next, letter B, changing the venous cannula to one with a bigger bore, leading to faster transfusion. If you have a bigger bore, you have an increase in radius, causing an increase in flow, and this is raised to the fourth power in Poiseuille's law. Next, mean arterial pressure is cardiac output times total peripheral resistance. Paano yan? Parang walang connect dito sa Ohm, Laplace, Reynolds, and Poiseuille. But remember, your mean arterial pressure is just pressure. Your cardiac output is just flow. And your total peripheral resistance is just your resistance. Remember this? This is just F is equal to change in pressure over resistance. Your flow is your cardiac output. Change in pressure is your mean arterial pressure. And resistance is your total peripheral resistance. And this is exactly the same as your Ohm's law. And lastly, a capillary in the brain can withstand high BP. This is Laplace. Why? Again, T is equal to PR. Mababa ang radius ng capillary. Even if you have high BP, this will still be maintained in the normal range, tension. Kasi maliit lang siya. There's not much pulling force on the walls of your capillary, even if there's a high pressure. Okay? A tachycardic and dehydrated individual was infused 1 liter of isotonic saline. The heart rate went down to 88 beats per minute. So, ano nangyari? Nagkaroon ng decreased in the sympathetic stimulation, sympathetic inhibition. So, the observed changes can be explained by arterial baroreceptor reflex, pwede. Because of the infusion of 1 liter of isotonic saline, ang stimulus mo, nag-increase yung mean arterial pressure mo. Bakit? Kasi nag-increase yung preload, increasing stroke volume, increasing cardiac output, increasing mean arterial pressure. Kasi nga, nag-increase yung blood volume mo. So, stimulus mo increased mean arterial pressure, nagkaroon ng arterial baroreceptor reflex, sabihin niya, sobrang taas na mean arterial pressure ko, I need to decrease this. I will now need to decrease my mean arterial pressure by decreasing sympathetic stimulation. And that probably caused the decrease in the heart rate. So, I think this is correct. Cardiopulmonary baroreceptor reflex is stimulated by an increase in the blood volume. Pwede. Pero, ang response nito is increased in the heart rate. Diba? By the way, nag-increase yung heart rate so that more blood will flow to the kidney. Diba? Sabi natin, cardiopulmonary baroreceptor reflex, the kidneys go into a water-losing mode. So, nag-i-increase yung heart rate din simultaneously para you pump more blood faster papuntang kidneys. So that you can excrete your excess body fluid. Okay? And that does not happen here kasi nga, the heart rate went down daw. So, hindi nangyari to. Chemoreceptor reflex, wala namang sinabing partial pressure of oxygen or carbon dioxide. Diba? So, wala. Cushing's reflex happens with increased intracranial pressure, which did not happen in this case. So, the answer here would be, I think, letter A. Okay? Blood pressure of the 4 executives were measured, which has the highest mean arterial pressure. Ano ang formula natin? Systolic blood pressure plus 2 times diastolic blood pressure. Kasi nga, your diastolic or diastole is twice as long in the cardiac cycle as your systole over 3. Okay? So, compute natin. 130 over 80, this would be 130 plus twice the diastole, that's 160. And lahat naman sila is over 3. Yung formula, di ba? Systolic plus 2 times diastolic over 3. So we don't need to worry about the over 3. So kahit yung numerator lang. Next, 120 plus 2 times diastolic, that's 120 plus 180. This is 125 plus 2 times diastolic, which is 140. This is 140 systolic plus 2 times diastolic, which is 120. This would be 290. This would be 300. This would be 265. And this would be 260. The highest one would be Mr. N. Okay? So 300 over 3, that would be, ang mean arterial pressure niya would be 100. So si Mr. N ang may pinakamataas na mean arterial pressure. The regulation of peripheral blood flow that involves temporary occlusion of an artery followed by a momentary increase in blood flow more than pre-occlusion level is found in one of the following. Flow autoregulation ba? Reactive hyperemia, active hyperemia, or myogenic control? Answer, reactive hyperemia. Reactive kasi it's a reaction to the occlusion or the decrease in the blood flow. Once you release the occlusion, look at what happens to the amount of flow, nag-increase. The longer you occluded the blood vessel, in-stop mo yung blood flow sa isang blood vessel, the higher the amount of flow afterwards kapag nirelease mo na yung occlusion. And this is, ang theory nila dito is because of the increased metabolites that are formed, di ba? Metabolic regulation, increase in carbon dioxide, increase in adenosine. So, kapag nirelease mo yung occlusion, that would cause release of metabolites, causing vasodilation, causing an increase in the blood flow, and that is reactive hyperemia. Mediator of endothelium-dependent vasodilator response, answer, nitric oxide. If you have shear stress or increased pressure imparted by the blood on the walls of your blood vessel, okay, that would stimulate the production of your nitric oxide, causing the relaxation of your smooth muscle, causing vasodilation. Okay? Tandaan to, nitric oxide, very important vasodilator due to shear stress. And this is produced by your endothelial cells that sense the increased shear stress by the blood. True of the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, angiotensinogen triggers vasodilation, mali ka agad, vasoconstriction yan, di ba? Aldosterone stimulates the anterior pituitary gland to release ADH. Hindi, di ba? This should be angiotensin 2. And this should be posterior pituitary gland. Aldosterone promotes renal tubular reabsorption of sodium and water. This is correct. Because you want to maintain normal blood volume again. So absorb my sodium. Where sodium goes, water follows. You reabsorb water, you have a maintenance of your blood volume. Renin is released in the lungs to bind to angiotensinogen. It's not released in the lungs, it's released in the kidney. The one released in your lungs is your angiotensin converting enzyme, which converts angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. Angiotensinogen is released in the liver. Okay? This statement is true about blood flow response in an organ. Kidney has strong hormonal control. No, this is part of our sympathetic control. Splanchnic organs are always under myogenic control. Again, under sympathetic control. Heart muscle is mostly under metabolic control. Tama, di ba? Brain, heart, skeletal muscle. BHS, Basic Human Studies. Metabolic control. Okay? Next, skin is under strong local metabolic control. Again, KSS, kidney splanchnic skin, is KSS sympathetic. Okay? 70-year-old man came in due to 5-day history of vomiting. So, naglo-lose ka ng blood volume. Loose bowel movement. Again, losing blood volume as well. He looks weak, noted to be sleepy. He sought consult and noted that his vital signs show hypotension, 80 over 50. Heart rate increased, 110 over 110. Ang normal natin is 60 to 100. Respiratory rate elevated as well, 12 to 20 lang dapat yan. Which of the following is true? The increase in the heart rate will produce an increase in stroke volume. No. The body will go to a water conserving mode. Probably. You are hypotensive kasi you're losing a lot of blood. You're losing a lot of fluids, causing decrease in your blood volume. So you want your body to go into water conserving mode. Wag mo i-excrete to maintain your blood volume. Vein bridge is activated. No, your vein bridge is activated, di ba? Para siyang cardiopulmonary baroreceptor reflex. This is activated during increased blood volume. Okay, wala nga eh. Low blood volume nga dito eh. There will be a decrease in sympathetic activity? No. Kung dinecrease mo yung sympathetic activity mo, lalong bababa yung blood pressure mo. Wala na, hypotension, ischemia, and then death. You want to go into sympathetic stimulation, increase sympathetic stimulation, and water conserving mode to raise your blood pressure back up to normal. During the final 50 meters of a race with maximal sympathetic stimulation, the athletes have maximal BP, but their hearts still receive adequate amount of oxygen. So, maximal sympathetic activity during exercise, sipin natin, vasoconstricted, dapat yung vessels ng heart. Pero bakit mayroon pa rin perfusion, may adequate amount of oxygen? Even without the options, heart is primarily mediated by or regulated by metabolic factors, not primarily by sympathetic factors. Hanapin nyo lang dyan. Alin dyan yung may metabolism? Oh, increase the rate of metabolism of cardiac muscles. That would produce adenosine. Most important vasodilator, carbon dioxide, potassium ions. Okay? Vasodilation yan lahat. Blood vessels to this organ will be constricted after a heavy meal. Heart ba? No. Brain ba? No. You want blood flow to be constant in these organs. GIT ba? No. GIT is primarily responsible for digesting, absorbing your food that you eat during your heavy meal. So you want your GI tract to receive a great amount of blood flow. So that will be vasodilated. So ang hindi mo kailangan during a meal is your kidneys, so you will vasoconstrict your kidneys. Okay? In a patient with abnormally high ICP, this parameter may be lower than normal. Cushing reflex. Anong nangyayari? Hypertension. Bradycardia. Ay, huwag natin lagyan ng arrows. Malito kayo. Ulit. That's hypertension, bradycardia, and irregular respiration. So, decrease in ventricular contractility ba? Decrease heart rate, decrease stroke volume, decrease TPR. The only one na nag-decrease sa Cushing's triad na nandito sa options is bradycardia, decrease in the heart rate. Okay? This will probably increase due to the hypertension, due to the sympathetic stimulation na mangyayari. But your heart rate will decrease because of the subsequent activation of the baroreceptor reflex, causing decrease in your heart rate and the compression of your cardiac centers in your brainstem. So you might be wondering, bakit kung may baroreceptor reflex, bakit hindi nag-decrease yung ventricular contractility or your stroke volume? It's because your parasympathetic stimulation to your heart primarily affects the SA node. Konti lang yung parasympathetic nerve fibers or your vagus nerve fibers to your heart muscle itself. Kuha ba yun? Primarily, pupunta siyang SA node, not to the heart muscle itself. Kaya hindi masyadong nababawasan yung cardiac contractility, even if the baroreceptor reflex is activated. Kaya yung heart rate yung naapektuhan, kaya bradycardia. Okay? Cerebral blood flow will most likely rise due to sleep. Of course not. Hindi ka naman nag-iisip. Probably during REM sleep when you're dreaming, diba? Pero most of your sleep that your brain is not metabolically very active as compared to when you're awake. So that would cause a decrease, diba, in your cerebral blood flow or maintenance, of your cerebral blood flow. So normal lang. Hyperventilation causes decreased CO2. Decreased CO2 would cause vasoconstriction. Diba? Kasi ang magkakos ng vasodilation is yung high CO2. Metabolic acidosis. Metabolic acidosis is low bicarb, high protons or hydrogen ions, which cannot cross the blood-brain barrier. So, hindi masyadong maapektuhan yung cerebral blood flow. Respiratory acidosis, which causes an increase in CO2, which would go to the CSF, causing the production of your CSF hydrogens or protons, causing an increase in your cerebral blood flow. Cerebral blood flow is not regulated by, this is a repeat question, this is systemic. Okay? Hydrogens. Okay? Kasi hindi siya nakapag-cross ng blood-brain barrier. In comparison to your systemic CO2 na nag-cross ng blood-brain barrier, and kapag nasa parenchyma na or nasa environment na mismo ng brain yung potassium and adenosine, of course, they will cause also vasodilation. Metabolites kasi yung mga yan. Okay? So now we go on to our cool down. A few questions na lang to, multiple true or false before we end this session. Okay, this is very easy lang. Recall lang and the reinforcement of the concepts na discuss natin. Regarding blood vessel hemodynamics, the total resistance in vessels arranged in parallel is higher than those arranged in series. This is false. Diba? It's lower. Ang series lagi ang higher resistance because of increased friction. Kapag parallel, lower kasi maraming pwedeng daanan yung blood. The blood vessel radius most significantly affects the resistance to blood flow. This is definitely correct. It's even raised to the fourth power. So flow mo, of course, di ba, nasa sa numerator siya to the fourth power. Kapag resistance, hindi yung radius mo is nasa denominator. Okay? Next. The equation Q is equal to PR, flow is equal to pressure times resistance, represents the relationship between flow, pressure gradient, and resistance. Tama ba yan? No. Di ba? Flow is equal to pressure over resistance. False. Vasoconstriction decreases venous return. False. Vasoconstriction compresses your veins, squeezing the blood out of them, increasing your venous return to the heart, increasing your preload, increasing cardiac output. Multiple true or false cardiovascular responses during severe dehydration. Ano magiging response during severe dehydration? You have decreased blood volume. Therefore, causing a decrease in cardiac output, causing a decrease mean arterial pressure. You want to, ano gusto mong gawin? Maintain homeostasis. Return this back to normal. Itong gusto mong response. Okay? So, i-vasoconstrict mo ba yung skeletal muscles mo? Pag binasoconstrict mo yung skeletal muscles mo, you would increase your total peripheral resistance, therefore, increasing your mean arterial pressure. This is true. Hindi naman vital organ. Diba? Ang skeletal muscles. So, hindi kailangan ng priority diversion ng blood flow to them. Diba? During severe dehydration, nag-hypotension ka na, you want primarily your blood to be diverted to, again, your vital organs, brain, and the heart. Cerebral and coronary circulation. Mag-vasoconstrict in everything else para ma-divert yung blood to them. Increase in the heart rate, definitely. That would increase your cardiac output to maintain your mean arterial pressure. Reduced cardiac contractility, definitely not. Lalo kang mag-hypotension yan. Decrease in TPR, again, definitely not. Lalong bababa ang mean arterial pressure mo. Reduced atrial natriuretic peptide. So, ang ginagawa ng atrial natriuretic peptide, it allows you to excrete sodium. Also, mag-follow dun yung water, yung fluid. So, you would decrease the amount of fluids in the body. So, kapag ni-reduce mo yun, so hindi mo i-excrete yung fluid, which is beneficial during dehydration. So, this is true. Lastly, true statements in the overall sympathetic response during exercise. Epinephrine vasoconstricts by stimulating beta-2. No, di ba? It vasoconstricts by stimulating alpha-1. Epinephrine acts on the blood vessel alpha-1 receptors causing vasodilation on skeletal muscles. No. Again, baliktad. Alpha-1 causes vasoconstriction. Dapat ito ay beta-2 that would cause vasodilation. Again, pag high concentration, alpha-1. Low concentration, beta-2. Ang preferred niya na mag-bind. Blood vessels to skeletal muscles dilate in response to local metabolites despite sympathetic stimulation. In-expect natin, sympathetic, magbabasoconstrict. Pero bakit during exercise, there's increased blood flow to your skeletal muscle? Because your skeletal muscle is part of your BHS, Basic Human Studies, brain, heart, skeletal muscle that is primarily mediated by your local metabolic factors. So again, this is false, false, true. And lastly, there is metabolic vasodilation of the coronary and cerebral arterioles, definitely. Brain and heart and the brain is metabolically regulated primarily. Okay, I think that's it for our quick review session ng third shift in physiology. I hope you were able to get the main points sa core diagrams natin and practice how to apply those main points sa ating mga practice questions. So in physiology, everything makes sense. The most important word in physiology is homeostasis. We always want to maintain normal body conditions. Kapag may nag-increase na factor, babaan mo to maintain equilibrium. So everything makes sense. There's logic in everything that happens in physiology. You just have to visualize it, to see it in your mind, rationalize bakit ganun nangyayari. And everything will be very clear to you afterward. So I wish you the best of luck. Prepare well, prepare without regrets, and give it your best shot. And thank you, and pagpalain kayong lahat. Bye-bye.